Akira The Don. He's got clout.
The first point was about how you're not going to get rich. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business, to gain your financial freedom.
This is probably one of the absolute most important points. People seem to think that you can create wealth and make money through work. It's probably not going to work. There are many reasons for that, but the most basic is just that your inputs are very closely tied to your output. In almost any salaried job, even one that's paying a lot per hour, like a lawyer or a doctor, you're still putting in the hours, and every hour you get paid. So what that means is when you're sleeping, you're not earning. When you're retired, you're not earning. When you're on vacation, you're not earning. And you can't earn non-linearly.
You're not going to get rich renting out your time, renting out your time, renting out your time. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business. You're not going to get rich renting out your time, renting out your time, renting out your time. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity to gain your financial freedom. Your financial freedom.
If you look at even doctors who get rich, like really rich, it's because they open a business. They open like a private practice, and that private practice builds a brand. Essentially, you're working for somebody else. And that person is taking on the risk and has the accountability and the intellectual property and the brand. So they're just not going to pay you enough. They're going to pay you the bare minimum that they have to get you to do the job. And that can be a high bare minimum, but it's still not going to be true wealth where you're retired. You're not creating new things for society. You're just doing things over and over. You're essentially replaceable because you're now doing a set role. Most set roles can be taught. If they can be taught, like in a school, then eventually you'll be competing with someone who's got more recent knowledge, who's been taught, and is coming in to replace you. You're much more likely to be doing a job that can be eventually replaced by a robot or by AI.
You're not going to get rich renting out your time, renting out your time, renting out your time. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business. You're not going to get rich renting out your time, renting out your time, renting out your time. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity to gain your financial freedom. Your financial freedom.
You really just want a job or a career or a profession where your inputs don't match your outputs. Businesses that have high creativity and high leverage tend to be ones where you could do an hour of work and it can have a huge effect, or you can do 1,000 hours of work and it can have no effect. One great engineer can, for example, create Bitcoin and create billions of dollars worth of value. An engineer who's working on the wrong thing or not quite as good or just not as creative or thoughtful or whatever can work for an entire year, and every piece of code that they ship ends up not getting used.
You're not going to get rich renting out your time, renting out your time, renting out your time. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business. You're not going to get rich renting out your time, renting out your time, renting out your time. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity to gain your financial freedom. Your financial freedom. Your financial freedom. Your financial freedom.
That you want to look for things that are leveraged, and by leverage I don't mean financial leverage alone like Wall Street uses, and that has a bad name. I'm just talking about tools. We're using tools. Computer is a tool that software engineers use. If I'm a lumberjack with bulldozers and automatic robot axes and saws, I'm going to be using tools and have more leverage than someone who's just using his bare hands and trying to rip the trees out by their roots. Tools and leverage are what create this disconnection between inputs and outputs. Creativity, so the higher the creativity component of a profession, the more likely it is to have disconnected inputs and outputs. So I think that if you're looking at professions where your inputs and your outputs are highly connected, it's going to be very, very, very hard to create wealth and make wealth for yourself in that process.